In the headlines, flood sacks 13 Anambra communities, renders 300 families homeless. People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar promises power devolution restructuring. Senate considers bill to regulate employment of domestic staff and interns. And on the foreign scene, Myanmar deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi and Australian economic advisor jailed. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Hello and welcome once again. 13 communities in Ogbaru local government area of Anambra State have been submerged by flood, with over 300 families rendered homeless. Schools, churches, markets and farmlands and residential areas in the communities were submerged, while some of the residents had relocated to neighboring communities. Community leaders said there was a need to find a permanent solution to the recurring flood problem, as the flooding had brought untold hardship to many families. The Anambra State Commissioner for Environment, Felix Odumegu, said the state government had commenced inspection of the affected communities, noting that the camps will be established for victims. He also said that medical teams had been deployed in the affected communities to assist the victims. Meanwhile, the Delta State government has commenced moves to evacuate residents across the state who have been displaced by this year's flood to internally displaced persons camps. Director General of the Delta State Orientation Bureau, Eugene Uzum, disclosed this during a sensitization exercise at the Oko area of the state. The report.
The sensitization, according to the DG, is part of efforts to cushion the effect of the flood on victims by informing them of the government's plans. Uzum and his team are assuring the victims, most of them homeless, of relief and safety till the area becomes habitable.
The government of Senator Fire to Power committee, led by the secretary to the state government, don't they put the camp together now? Inside that camp, hospital dey. Inside that camp, school dey for inside. Inside that camp, una go fit dey do una church activity. When we don enumerate una finish, carry una comot from this place. For inside that camp, dem go dey feed una.
The permanent secretary of the Bureau, Stella McCurley, on her part, disclosed the challenges being faced during evacuation.
We've had a situation where we got to a community and we were turned back. They said their gods were angry. We now had to explain what the problem is. And at the end of the day, they accepted our message, and we also told them in turn that they had to leave. In fact, they had to harvest their crops early enough so that it's not total devastation.
The internally displaced persons who recounted their losses called for urgent intervention from the government.
It's very many things for us. So just keep us for everybody. But our house inside, everything is spoiled. Both farm, everything. So we don't have anything like that. That's why we are this place.
This environment, my children now, not get anywhere to stay. Until now, hungry, they catch me. As you see me, so I get belly. Now, my house, I never figure water they reach me here. Now, I need help.
Last year we were very, very full, but this year it's too much. So nowhere to go. Make us to come upland to stay.
The displaced persons are hopeful that with government intervention in the pipeline, they would be able to stand again.
And at least 3 persons have been killed and over 500 rendered homeless as River Benue overflowed its banks and flooded Ibaji local government area of Kogi State. The lawmaker representing the Ibaji constituency in Kogi State House of Assembly, Honorable Atule Egbonu, confirmed this in Lokoja in an interview on Wednesday night. According to Egbonu, thousands of houses and farmlands have been flooded, an incident he described as unfortunate annual disaster, saying that it had become difficult to relocate the victims to a safer place. The lawmaker appealed to the state and federal governments as well as the international community to come to the aid of his people. And to matters of security now, where gunmen have killed at least 5 soldiers in Umunze, a community in Orumba South local government area of Anambra State. The incident reportedly occurred on Wednesday at about 12:30 p.m. beside a Zenith Bank branch close to the popular Nkwo Umunze market in the area. The gunmen were said to have opened fire on the soldiers who were in an army-marked Sienna patrol vehicle, killing 5 of them in the attack. The military is yet to respond to the attack as of the time of this report. Meanwhile, Governor Charles Soludo, in a statement by his spokesperson, Christian Aburime, condemned the attack and said the perpetrators must pay as the government is working to apprehend them. The governor urged Anambra residents to remain calm and law-abiding as the security agencies are on top of the situation. And the Lagos State Police Command say the command is investigating 3 suspects arrested with live cartridges on their way to Katsina State. According to the police public relations officer, SP Benjamin Hundein, the suspects were intercepted with 2 commercial buses loaded with an unspecified number of live cartridges, 3 dismantled motorcycles and phones, among other items. Abbas Alibi reports.
The state police spokesperson Benjamin Hundein told Trust TV that, with the support of some members of the community, the operatives of the Ikorodu division of the Lagos State Police Command intercept 2 commercial buses loaded with large quantity of live cartridges, and 3 suspects were arrested. He said the police is working with the members of the community to checkmate any illegal activity going on within the communities.
The divisional police officer in that area quickly mobilized his men to that place where they found 3 men loading a vehicle with live ammunition and several rounds of live ammunition, 3 dismantled motorcycles. So they were promptly arrested, taken to the police station first. But because of the sensitivity around it, we had to move them to the headquarters. And as I speak to you now, they are at the State Criminal Investigation Department.
The President, Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, Musa Metakobi, who is also the Lagos State Chairman of the association, disclosed that the buses and the suspect were not arrested at the designated car park in Lagos. Then called on passengers to desist from going to undesignated motor parks for their own safety.
I'm drawing the attention of all the passengers, that is commuters, always before you board any motor, you make sure you went to the garage where been designed by the government. So if there is anything, the government will follow it up to know where even the vehicle take up.
However, Ado Dansudu, one of the leaders of Arewa community in Lagos, spoke on the importance of working together in the fight against the proliferation of illegal firearms into the country.
I don't see the reason why you will supply something which maybe your father or your mother or your brother can be kidnapped or can be killed by what you supply. So people doesn't think what is going to happen to them. They don't think what is going to happen to their parents or their brothers or their fathers, even their relatives.
They said security is everybody's business. Therefore, for a sustainable security posture in the country, the mindset of people must be reshaped. Abbas Ibrahim Alibi, Trust TV, Lagos.
And to politics now, where the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, says the ruling APC government has lost the essence of governance for its failure to secure Nigerians, pledging that his party will rescue the country. The former vice president, who made the remark at the inauguration of the party's presidential campaign council and book launch in Abuja, also called on his compatriots to join him in the struggle. Trust TV's Sheffield Suleiman reports.
It was a 2-in-1 event meant to capture the life and times, legal battles, disposition or restructuring of the PDP presidential candidate coming on the sidelines of the inauguration of the party's campaign council.
There is no other better time than now for Nigerians to know about you.
But beyond these formalities, the PDP is kickstarting its presidential campaign anchored on the premise of rescuing Nigeria, a country the party governed for 16 years until the electorate voted it out in 2015.
All of us are going to hit the ground running, and we shall work collectively as a family and expeditiously to ensure the victory of our party.
To build a strong and effective democratic government where the safety and security of our people and their property is our primary and singularly most important responsibility.
The event also exposed the deepening acrimony that led to the pullout of some critical stakeholders, including a vice chairman south of the party's campaign council and Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde. Their strategic absence could be seen as a setback to the relentless efforts of the party's presidential flag-bearer to pacify the aggrieved members. Shapiro Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And still talking politics, members of the Labour Party on Wednesday kick off their campaign ahead of the 2023 general election with a mega rally in Jos, the Plateau state capital. Peter Obi and Dattibab Ahmed, the party's presidential and vice presidential candidates, and other party stakeholders were present.
We are not missing one. Just Obi for president. Okay.
And the Igbo community in Osun State has called on security agencies in the state to put necessary measures in place to ensure adequate security before, during and after the 2023 general elections. The Secretary of Osun State Council of Indi Ezegwu, Eze Anthony Onyewesi, made the call in an interview with Trust TV in Osogbo. He lamented that Igbos in Osun State were attacked by hoodlums after declaration of the winner of the July 16 governorship election, adding that their properties were vandalized and looted.
So we want to appeal to our people to, be peace-loving and law-abiding. We want to also appeal to the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps and other sister agencies that they should look our way. For example, let me bring it to your notice that shortly after the July 16 governorship election on 17th, some of our people were attacked at a place called Old Garage here in Osogbo, where their business premises was vandalized. So we are not too happy about that. Most of our people came from Abuja, from Enugu and the other places, but we have to, downplay that incident because of the fragile nature of peace that we're having in the country. Because if you allow it, some of this we might blow it out of proportion. So we have to handle it internally.
Defense and Police Officers' Wives Association, DEPOA, are set to inaugurate the first post-traumatic stress disorder diagnostic, treatment, rehabilitation and research center in Nigeria. According to DEPOA President Vicky Anwuli Yarabo, the move is to provide trauma support for soldiers and police officers impacted by war and conflict, wives of those in the military and police. She said there are personnel impacted by war without limbs, impaired vision and other disabling conditions as a result of their service to the nation, adding that the center is to ensure the stability of military families in post-conflict Nigeria. You're watching Trust TV News Update. And still ahead on the news. Motorists lament state of Lafia Akwanga Road. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Update. Now another look at our top stories. Flood sacks 13 Anambra communities, renders 300 families homeless. And People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar promises power devolution and restructuring. And in other news, the federal government has declared Monday as a public holiday to mark the nation's 62nd independence anniversary celebration. Minister of Interior Rauf Aregbesola, who made the declaration on behalf of the federal government, congratulates all Nigerians on the celebration and assured of government's commitment to tackling the challenges facing the nation and bring smiles on the faces of the people. In a statement signed by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Interior, Shoaib Belgouri, the minister urged Nigerians to use the occasion to reflect on the challenges facing the nation and the role individuals can play in addressing them. The minister charged Nigerians to work hard, shun any attraction to get rich through criminal and other immoral means, saying only through productivity can an individual and the nation create wealth and get rich. National Economic Conference in Kano has identified unreliability of data as inimical to women's economic empowerment in Nigeria. The consensus among participants is that changing the narrative requires collaborative efforts between government and private organizations in the country. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibril reports.
Because once you give women opportunity, they can take the entire day.
Organized by the Nigerian Economic Society in partnership with the Development Research and Project Center, this session of the annual conference aims at tracking, analyzing and calculating the impact of government, private and donor investments in women's economic empowerment in Nigeria, as well as the challenges of data reliability and microeconomic methodology.
The Women Corp project are some of the projects that are specifically focusing on women alone, not combined with men, artisan, farmer, or other people. So women, we can have vocational training or grant for women and girls, vocational training for widows, for ladies, for wives.
We need empowerment to bring us from our low self-esteem and to give us the confidence and the right to choices. The right to be in decision-making.
According to experts, partnership for advancing women in economic development includes addressing the challenges faced by the average local woman in accessing funds, problem of data tracking for women's economic empowerment, and how best to economically empower women.
Women are not taking over. We don't want to take over men's jobs, no. That's not what gender equality and what we are asking for parity. The woman is asking for a voice. She's asking to be heard, asking to have equal opportunities in everything we do. So when men begin to think that it's a failure for men and a rise for women, or is a zero-sum game, no.
When you talk about women empowerment, you talk about the informal sector. And education is paramount. You have to develop their skills, give them social protection. And if they're educated, they can even protect themselves. They don't need anybody to protect them. They have the right to make their own decisions, own their own properties, take their kids to school. They can arrest simple emergencies.
In order to achieve the desired objectives, recommendations and observations were offered on how best the Nigerian Economic Society and DPRC could solve the problem of women across the country. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And motorists plying major roads linking Nasarawa State and other parts of the country have appealed to the federal government to fix the collapsed section of the Lafia-Akwanga road. Abubakar Abdullahi reports that the section linking the state to other parts of the country has collapsed due largely to persistent rains in the areas. His report is presented from our studio.
This is the difficulty motorists passing through Lafia and Akwanga town in Jos in Plateau State and other parts of the country face as sections of the road have collapsed. In Lafia, motorists have to use one lane of the road because the other lane has collapsed. Apart from the locals, people across the country are relying on these two major roads to move either from the north to the south and from the south to the north to carry out one activity or the other. Hashiru Abubakar is a motorist. He is not happy with the condition of the road.
The government have to interfere immediately. They have to come immediately and repairing this. They have to interfere immediately. We are calling state government, they have to call the federal government to come and interfere about this road immediately. Because there is problem. If this road break finish now, so all those cars where they are passing here to the east, they are going back to follow Abuja. So the conjunction, they are going to cause the problem in the federal government.
Men of the Nasarawa State sector of the Federal Road Safety Corps were handy to control movement of the vehicles. The sector said it would ensure that vehicles are guided while plying the roads.
So since then, what I do is that is to post men to the scene on daily basis for observation. So they keep on observing to see if they, and they also ensure that vehicles are diverted through the A. Koto Road and the Shumada Road. And presently, because of the heavy weight of trucks passing through Shumada Road, the small bridge along that road is about to collapse. So what we are choosing is that if that's not workable, then we'll divert traffic through Wamba, that's passing the old Jos Road to Jos.
During a visit to the collapsed section of the Jos Road in Lafia, the contractor handling the dualization of Kefi Akwanga Lafia Makudi Express Road mobilized men to the scene to commence repair of the damaged section.
To legislative matters, where on Wednesday the Senate considered and passed for second reading a bill seeking to regulate and formalize informal sector employment in Nigeria. The sponsor of the bill, Senator Mohammed Sani, while presenting the bill, said it also seeks to empower the National Directorate of Employment, NDE, to issue licenses and monitor privately owned agencies. The report.
In the face of labor malpractices in the informal sector of the economy, a bill to provide cover for the employees in that sector is underway at the Senate. The sponsor of the bill, Senator Mohammed Sani, said the operation in the informal sector was usually on a small scale with labor-intensive production and usually private ownership driven. As such, there was a need to provide legislation in favor of the huge labor force in that sector.
The primary goal of this bill is to regulate this sector to promote strategic objectives, the promotion of rights at work, employment, social protection, and social dialogue. On the contrary, many jobs in the informal labor market in Nigeria still experience decent work deficit. Employees in the informal sector are often seen as having no rights and are not treated fairly by their employers. All of this bill seeks to correct.
Other lawmakers in their contributions described the bill as a welcome development.
To me, Mr. President, both the content of the intent of the bill are most timely relevant to the modern day Nigeria. Globally, Mr. President, this private sector is purely regulated in the interest and for the interest of every citizen of any of those countries above, including Nigeria.
As much as we have this issue of indecent work as this bill seeks to protect, the other aspect I would also like us to highlight is there are also situations where these same informal workers have had cause to deal with those who employ them.
The Senate President Ahmed Lawa has since referred the bill to the relevant committee for further legislative input.
Now to the economy, where the dollar hit 735 naira in the parallel market on Wednesday as political campaign activities began in the country. According to Bureau de Change operators in Lagos and Abuja, dollar price had increased from 718 naira to 728 to 735 naira in the last 1 week. Another operator, Abubakar Jamio, at Zone 4 Abuja, told The Punch dollar don't cost and we're selling it at 730 naira, no more, no less. But the dollar rate hit 735 naira by the close of Wednesday. Speaking on major factors responsible for the rate hikes in dollar to naira, the Vice President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Gabriel Idahosa, said the immediate cause of the dollar rate increment was the new monetary policy rate of the Central Bank of Nigeria. According to Idahosa, the commencement of the elections also meant that a lot of funds had started pouring into campaign-related activities. And now on the foreign scene, Myanmar's elected leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been found guilty of breaching the country's Official Secrets Act by a secretive military court. The latest in a string of convictions brought by the generals who removed her from office in a coup last year. Reports say Suu Kyi was given a 3-year sentence on Thursday. The official said her economic advisor, Sean Turnell, was also found guilty and sentenced to 3 years in jail. And that wraps up Trust TV News Update for this hour. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.